everyone. In this video, we will be providing you with a tutorial of Surgent's EA exam review course. Now, the first thing that you'll notice when you log in is our welcome screen. Next, you will click the button at the bottom of the page and you will move on to setting up your study schedule. So the first part of that is entering your exam date. So go ahead and select a date that you think you're going to take the exam. And if you're not sure, just go ahead and try to pick the date closest to when you think you might want to take it. Then you'll click next. After that, you will set up your study schedule. So what days per week do you plan on studying? This is an essential part of developing your study plan, because if you don't know exactly when you're going to be studying, it's very easy to get off track and not maintain that rhythm that you'll need to prepare for the exam. So right now I've selected 5 days per week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now you will base this on your work schedule, school schedule, family obligations, things of that nature. Think through the times where you really believe you will be able to study and go ahead and mark those on the form. Then you'll click next. After that, you will come to a page that basically gives you an overview of the study phases that you will experience in the EA review course. So the first one is the assessment phase. This is where we give you an exam to basically figure out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and we're going to use that data to help you make sure you're studying the most appropriate topics based on what you need to improve over the course of your study experience. You'll notice there it says that you will establish your ReadySCORE. The ReadySCORE basically helps determine what score do you need to achieve in order to pass the exam. So that's one thing that you will find there. And then next you'll move into the study phase. And that study phase will be where you're going over your practice questions. You're really drilling through those things. You're looking at, sometimes videos, depending on what package you have, or glossary terms or things from the textbook. All of those sorts of things you'll be doing during the study phase. And then finally, you will move into the practice phase. And this is where you'll actually be taking real practice exams. So before you go to the testing center, we don't want you to go straight there. We want you to go ahead and do some simulated exams. We want you to have that experience to feel, what does it feel like to take an exam for this time frame? What does the format of the exam look like? It actually mimics the exam that you'll see at the testing center. And so that's what you'll be doing during the practice phase. So from here, we'll go ahead and click Let's Go, and it will take us into the assessment. You'll see here, the assessment for EA review is 150 questions. You do not have to complete these all in one sitting. You can take maybe 3 to 5 days and go ahead and work on completing that assessment, and then you're ready to get started in your review course. Now, you'll notice that here, these sections or categories rather are locked and you cannot view them. That is because the assessment is not yet complete. Once you complete the assessment, you will be able to access this information down here. And just to show you an example of what that will look like, we'll go ahead and pull up this other tab that shows you, I'm in the individual section of the EA review course. And what you see here, I'm going to take you down to the dashboard. What you'll notice is that here we show you your multiple choice question ReadySCORE. So this user currently has a 32. We want users to get up to an 85 for their ReadySCORE. Now, this is, obviously that's not the exact same scoring system that's used on the EA exam. What we're doing is saying if you get an 85 in our system, that signifies to you that you are ready to go out and pass the exam and get that 105 that you need to get on the EA exam as well. So that's what you're targeting for. Currently at a 32, we're trying to get up to an 85. So one of the things that you'll do is our system will take into account how many days per week you're available to study. It will also look at when your exam date is. This date has actually already passed. So, but if there was a future date, this would show your daily study time. We give you a personalized recommendation to say, based on how many days per week you can study and how close you are to your exam, here's how much daily study time you need to be doing in order to get ready to pass your exam. So This may say something like 30 minutes. It could go all the way up to 8 hours, usually in cases where there's a lot of studying that needs to take place. But generally, I would say probably a couple hours, depending on how you perform on the assessment, but that will be listed here. So let's say hypothetically, this said 1 hour of daily study time. Well, what do I do with that 1 hour? Well, there are a couple of different things you can do. The first option is you can utilize the daily surge. With the daily surge, you have 3 boxes, and all 3 of these boxes do different things. One is a study session. This is where you're going to be practicing and drilling those study questions, those multiple choice questions. And then the next box, you're going to be watching videos. And then the next box, you'll be reading reference materials from the textbook. Now, all 3 of these boxes are tailored to you and your needs. So what does that mean? Well, this video for preliminary work, this is indicating that this is a video that this user needs to watch based on how they're performing in this particular category. If someone else had this area as a strength, this would not be the video that we would recommend them to watch. We do the same thing for the reading materials we're giving you and the practice questions we're advising you to study. They're all going to be based on what we believe you need to see in order to get ready to pass the exam as quickly as possible. I always tell people, if you already know that 2 + 2 is 4, we don't need to advise you to watch a 30-minute video on simple addition. That is not going to help you pass the exam, and it's going to be boring to you, and you'll lose momentum. So what we're going to do is find out, well, where are you having trouble? That's what we need you to learn. Those are the types of videos we want you to watch here. So that's what you'll see there. Now, there is another way to study, but before we move on to that, I'm going to tell you kind of the pros and the cons of using the daily surge. This is, from a pro standpoint, this is the fastest way to lift your ReadySCORE. This is the fastest way to prepare for the exam. One challenge that some people have with it is that when you do the practice questions, it does not just go in a linear fashion. So it's not going to give you 20 questions on preliminary work and taxpayer data all lumped together. Instead, it's going to bounce you around from category to category. So you'll go from preliminary work to deductions and credits, to income and assets, to taxation, to specialized returns. It's going to bounce you all over the exam. So why do we do it that way? Well, that's the way it's going to be on the actual exam that you'll be taking. And so we are training your brain to be able to learn how to shift gears and transition between various topics as you're studying. So that is why this is the most efficient and effective way to study. However, we do understand that everyone has a unique learning style. And so if you're the type of person who says, well, you know what, I don't really want to bounce around from topic to topic. I would prefer to go in a more structured format. That's the way I best learn. Well, you can go down here and look at the 6 categories that comprise this individual section of the EA exam, and you can study in a linear fashion. You can go category by category and master each topic. Now, let's see what that looks like. So here you can either, for category 1, you could click study questions and do those here. And when you do that, you can select the number of questions that you'd like to complete, as well as choose the type of study method you want. The adaptive method is our recommendation. That's going to give you a mix of all different types of questions, new, old, questions that you got correct before, just to make sure you haven't forgotten it or that it wasn't a fluke, as well as questions that you missed before. And we want to find out, have you watched something, a video, have you read something where now you have a better grasp of that concept and you would actually get it correct if you were to do it again. So that's what the adaptives are going to be giving you. It's a little bit of a mix. Now, we understand, though, that sometimes you may only want to see new questions, or you may only want to see questions that you missed the last time. So we give you a variety of different options just to give you some flexibility in terms of what type of study experience you're seeking that particular day. Now, from there, you'll click Begin Session, and it will launch you into your practice questions. So you can do that. You can also watch videos. But the other thing that you can do, I'm actually going to come down here to income and assets. If, let's say, income and assets, that's category 2, but what if I wanted to click in this box? I can actually drill down and see subcategories. So 2A through 2D comprise category 2. And so this can be very helpful because I can get more granular and say, you know what? looking at my scores, I currently have a 31 in the overall category. I'm doing the best in 2B for retirement income, but in 2A, that's where I have my lowest score with a 22. So I can either do some practice questions by clicking the pencil icon, or since I'm not doing well here, I've only gotten 2 out of 9 questions correct. Maybe I want to watch a video first, then learn the material, then come back and do this particular set of practice questions specifically on income. So those are some ways that you can really be targeted and focused in your study efforts. Now, I'm going to show you, just as an example, what it looks like when you go into the video platform. So I'll go ahead and click this play button. And here I would like to do video 2A on income. And so I'll show you a couple of things that you'll see here. One, you have a large screen with the PowerPoint as well as a small screen of the presenter. If you would like to change this and flip it, you can click these arrows up here and you can have the video large and then the PowerPoint small, or you can flip it back if you like. You also have access to a transcript of everything that is being said in this video will be located down here, and whatever is being said in real time will be listed in blue. You also have the ability to take notes using our notes feature here. And then one feature that a lot of people don't know about is that if you click this paperclip icon, then we actually have 2 attachments available for you. One is a PDF of the PowerPoint slides. The other one says VLN, and that stands for video lecture notes. So with the video lecture notes, we actually pre-populate a set of notes to recap every video in our system. So every video that you see here, you can come here and get the notes on it that kind of summarize and recap what was being shared in that video. So here I'm just scrolling through a little bit so you can see what's included in those notes, but this can be very helpful to you as you're trying to, just get together your study notes and really just make sure you have a firm understanding of what is being covered. So that's one thing that I wanted to highlight for you there. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and exit the video platform and go back to my dashboard and show you one other thing that you can do. So we talked about after you've been studying, now we want to move on to the practice phase. So for the practice phase, that's when you'll start taking your practice exams. We want every user to take at least 1 or 2 practice exams before you go to the testing center and take the real exam. So if you click here, then you can get a snapshot of what it's going to look like when you actually go to the testing center. This will be a 3.5-hour exam, and it will consist of 2 testlets, and they will each have 50 questions each in them. And so if you click Start Exam, you can go in and start answering those questions on the practice exam. So again, we encourage you to do at least 1 or 2 of those before you sit for the real exam. Now, transitioning back up here to the top, there are a couple of other features that I'd like to show you. One, if you are studying for multiple versions of the EA exam, so there's part 1, part 2, part 3, you can toggle back and forth between the ones in our systems just by going here. So individuals, businesses, and then representation, practice, and procedures. Now, the other things that you can do here is if you go over and look at this little document icon in the top right corner, if you click on that, it will give you access to the glossary, the textbook, the podcast, the IRS publications, all those sorts of things. And so that's something that can be really beneficial to you as well. And just to talk about those IRS publications, they're also available in the questions as well. So I'll show you what that looks like right quick. So I'm going to go ahead and start a practice session. And let's say I think this is the answer, but I want to check something. Let's say this was the type of question that I actually needed to consult the IRS documents. If I click IRS up here, it shows me the forms, instructions, and publications. So if I click on forms and click view, I can say, let me go ahead and take a look at a form 1040. And when I click view, it pulls it up right there at my fingertips. Now, what if I want to look at some of the publications? Well, just come here, click view, and let's take a look at Pub 17. So if I click view there, then I can see that document as well. So all of those documents are right there at your fingertips. So that's something to be aware of as well. So I'm going to go ahead and exit this session. And actually, before I exit, let me show you one other thing. If you are answering this question and maybe you're 70 to 80% sure that this is the right answer, go ahead and click submit. But if you read this question and you have no clue what the correct answer is, I want you to go ahead and mark it as guessed. So I've selected my answer. Now I click mark as guessed. And what that's going to do is, you notice that my answer was correct. However, the system has marked it a little bit differently here. It's actually going to count it as an incorrect answer in the system, because what we want to do is say, if you are still having trouble with this topic, we are still going to be pointing you in the direction of resources that can help you better understand this concept. So we don't want to trick the system or make it think that we know things that we don't. And so that's one of the reasons that this is really important to utilize that mark as guess feature. Again, this is just if you have a wild guess. If you're, like I said, if you're on the fence, 60 to 70% sure even, just go ahead and click submit. Sometimes it'll be right, sometimes it'll be wrong, but that's what I would recommend doing there. One other thing to note, you will see the answer explanations over here on the right, as well as helpful resources like video links, glossary terms, and links to the textbook to look at certain reference materials there to help you better understand these concepts that you might be having difficulty with. So those are some things that can be helpful to you as well. Now, as we go back to our dashboard, I'll show you the next icon. If you click on this where it looks like a little person reading a book. So if you click on your session results log, that will show you all of the previous times that you've been in the system studying. So here, we're going to go back and take a look at a practice session. You see the date, the time, your score on it, the percentage you got correct, as well as the total number of questions and the number that you got correct. So let's go ahead and view this session. So now, if I wanted to go back and see all of the questions I answered correctly, I can do that here. If I want to see the questions I got incorrect, I can do that here. So let me go ahead and review all of these. So now I'm going back to those questions and I can say, okay, I didn't have time in the moment to stop, but now I'm going back and looking at this, and this explanation is helpful, but I actually want to go a little bit deeper. Let me learn a little bit more about individual retirement accounts, or IRAs. If I go here, it will explain it to me in more detail. Or you can click here to watch those videos. So those are some things that can be helpful to you as well. Now, a couple of other things. If you click this question mark icon, this will show you how you can access the emails. If you have a technical question, let's say something isn't loading properly in your system, go ahead and shoot an email to exam-review@surgent.com and they'll be able to help. Or if you have a question about the content, let's say you read the answer explanation, but you still don't fully understand, you've got some extra questions, go ahead and send an email to editorial@surgent.com, and one of our content team members will be glad to respond to you and give you some additional insight on that. You can also call us at any time, and we'll be glad to help that way too. And then finally, you see this star icon here. We do have gamification built into this, so you can earn badges and points for doing things like watching a video or completing your practice exam or doing a study session, different things like that. You can earn points and badges just to help with your motivation as you continue to study and advance with your exam. So I hope you found this information helpful. This kind of concludes what I wanted to show you as it relates to how our platform works. And again, we wish you the best on your exam as you move forward with passing the EA exam. So have a great rest of your day.